In this week's episode, I'll be talking about why I'm returning to YouTube and the fun, sometimes stressful process in building a channel. I'm Michael Laron, and this is the Writer's Journey podcast, where you get a window into the life of a working science fiction and fantasy author. I'm on a mission to go from nobody to bestseller, and I'm documenting every step of the way. Tune in every week as I share my progress and discover what inspires my books and how I write them. You can find the show notes for today's episode at michaellaron.com/podcast. This week, I'm talking about the writing life. Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the podcast. Can I just say that 14 is a really good number? Just saying. There's a thunderstorm going on right now outside my window. I've got a cup of my favorite tea, and I'm behind the mic bringing you another episode of the Writer's Journey podcast. So all is well with me. So thanks for listening. As a creative entrepreneur, one of the most difficult things to do is rein in your imagination. You have so many ideas and you want to run with them all, but at the same time, you know you can't and you have to pull yourself back. This was the case for me in 2015, which in many ways was the most important early year in my publishing career. I was doing a lot of stuff. I wrote my first official series, Android X, which is still doing pretty well today. I published my first nonfiction book, Interactive Fiction, which did surprisingly well and continues to do surprisingly well today, despite the fact that it's really niche. It's a steady little earner for me. I also did my first collaboration with my friend Justin Sloan, which resulted in our modern necromancy fiction series. In my personal life, my daughter was still a newborn, so I was getting zero sleep. I had just started a new job in a new department at the insurance company where I work with people who I would get to know and respect very much. I look back at 2015 and it's all a blur for me. There was a lot of things going on. But somehow, some way, I had an idea to start a YouTube channel for writers. I don't even remember why, honestly. I just remember being very inspired and spending a lot of long nights planning the channel's design, the programming, and doing lots of research. I called it Author Level Up, and like most of my projects, I launched it with zero expectations. I focused on creating good content and getting better with every video. It was actually one of the most important things I did in 2015. When I started Author Level Up, there weren't very many YouTubers serving the writing community. Writers seem to prefer podcasts, which are great, but sometimes the popular podcasts are guilty of covering the same thing at the same time, in the same way, and it turns into an echo chamber. I love podcasts, obviously because I have one, right? But I'm not an interviewer. In fact, I'm terrible at making conversation. Really terrible. So I didn't want to embarrass myself by doing an interview show. There are plenty of those out there and plenty of people that do them far better than I ever could. I also didn't want to do a solo podcast because I didn't think I'd be interesting enough for people to care. Instead, I started a YouTube channel and I focused on being visual. Now, I'm socially awkward, shy, introverted, so the decision to put myself on camera was a strange one. Again, I probably credit having no sleep. But surprisingly, there were not many YouTube channels on writing, and mine grew pretty fast. I did over 100 videos and I racked up 2,500 subscribers in 1 year. Not great results if you compare me to other YouTube channels out there, but pretty good for the writing space. It also landed me on Joanna Penn's podcast, which led to some other opportunities for me to build my brand. I had to put the channel on a hiatus because my life got hectic, and also there's a funny story with some chickens that were in my house that was also part of the decision to put the channel on hiatus, but I won't go into that. And I received a lot of emails over the years asking me to bring the channel back, and now just feels like the right time. So I'm bringing it back. Author Level Up has nearly 5,000 subscribers now, which is double what I had when I pressed pause. That tells me a lot. It tells me that my videos were doing a lot of things right. It tells me that that's how I can make my mark in the community. I loved shooting video, and I kept wanting to go back to it. I just wasn't able to in terms of the physical setup in my house, the time commitment and all that, but things are better for me now. And so now that I can do this, I want to do it better. Some of my videos, such as my outlining methods video and my Ulysses writing app review, have been wildly popular and they've racked up tens of thousands of views. Again, it's not incredible if you compare it to, say, a beauty channel or a gaming channel, but for the writing community, that's pretty impressive, and it does give me a glimpse of the future. One thing I didn't do with Author Level Up initially was to monetize it. I cared more about creating good information and sharing it to help people. But I've learned a lot since the hiatus, and I will be doing some things to turn the channel into a business. Don't worry. Not selling out. But doing videos is something I love almost as much as writing fiction, and I would be a fool not to do something more with it. People have told me that the videos I made helped them. That's not going to change. Instead, I'm going to figure out how to deliver even more value to my videos and do some experimental things that have not been done in the writing space yet, at least on YouTube. Anyway, I'll share more on that in a future episode. But I've purchased a new camera, lights, software, and technical gear to up my production quality, which I think was already pretty good, but it's going to be better now. I'm also shifting my focus to writing craft, product reviews, marketing, and branding. Like this podcast, I'm going to focus more on my own personal journey, as I feel people resonate with that a lot more than just giving basic advice. So I'll wrap up this week's episode by inviting you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Author Level Up. You can find it at youtube.com/authorlevelup. The new videos will launch in July, and I couldn't be more excited. Thanks for joining me this week. If you enjoyed the show, here are a couple ways to help a brother out. If you're listening to this on Anchor, favorite the show. If you're listening to this on a podcast app, do me a favor and write me a review and share it with your friends. You can, of course, visit my website and learn more about my work at michaellaron.com. If you have a question, send me a voice message on Anchor and you just might hear it on the show. Next week, I'll be reading a page from my writer's sketchbook. Until then, I leave you with a quote. We must let go of the life we have planned so as to accept the one that is waiting for us. Joseph Campbell.